Joining us now is Dr. Ben Carson, one of the most honorable men alive. Dr. Carson, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Charlie. Always good to be with you.
So, Dr. Carson, lots to discuss here. I want to just start with this. I understand that the president is asked you to host a faith event at Mar-a-Lago with pastors from around the country and really have you spearhead the faith effort for him. Tell our audience about that and why you believe that people of faith and Christians should vote for Donald Trump.
Well, we are working on that. Whether it will be at Mar-a-Lago or not, we haven't completely nailed down, but we'll be here. You'll be hearing more about that. You know, our country, our founding document, the Declaration of Independence, says that our rights come from our Creator, aka God. So what people need to be thinking about is, do you like our country and the principles upon which it was founded? Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Who running for office runs on a platform of life, and who on a platform of death? Who runs on a platform of liberty, leading the life that you want to lead versus mandates about this, that, and the other? Who runs on a platform of you can be all that you want to be, it's up to you, versus you're a victim? It shouldn't be hard to figure out who I'm talking about. And what we want people to do is to just start thinking for themselves. Don't be manipulated. Don't be gaslighted. Just believe what your eyes are telling you. Believe what your ears are telling you. Believe what your heart is telling you. There is a reason that America ascended from obscurity to the pinnacle of the world in record time. And it was not a coincidence. And all you have to do is think back a few years to how you were doing, what your optimism level was versus now. And ask yourself, is that a coincidence? Or is it a difference in the style of governing? These are the things that are so important for the American people to realize. And also this whole concept of somebody being anti-democratic. The people who are saying that Trump is a danger to democracy, are they not the same people who are using the justice system to persecute their political enemies? Are they not the same people who are trying to stifle freedom of speech? Think about the things they're doing. Are they not the same people who have the candidate for president who received not a single vote in the primaries? So I wonder who it is that is really stifling democracy.
So Dr. Carson, having worked in close proximity with President Trump as Housing and Urban Development and knowing him for quite some time, can you speak to what some Christians would say as personal grievances against President Trump? They say that I can't possibly support him because he's a sinner, so on and so forth. Can you address that head on, Dr. Carson? I'm sure you receive that quite a lot, and I think you're uniquely positioned to counter that.
Well, first of all, the only perfect person ever to live was Jesus, and he was crucified. So I'm not sure that any of us are in a position to be the judge and jury. But there's a reason that we have these sophisticated brains. For instance, if you had a very severe disease that could be cured by a very talented surgeon, would you rather have the surgeon who has poor bedside manner but cures everybody, or the surgeon who has the beautiful words and kills everybody? You know, that's why we have a brain, so we can figure those kinds of things out, looking at the big picture. And you have to really look at the policies. You know, rhetoric and speech, that's what politicians do. Politicians are very good at doing what is politically expedient, going around with their finger in the air, seeing which way the wind is blowing, and then changing to adapt to it. That's not something that you're finding with Donald Trump. Now, maybe to some people's consternation, maybe they want him to change, but he's not going to. He's who he is. And what he has done policy-wise has been extraordinarily beneficial for every segment of our society. And those are the kinds of things that we should look at. We can always work on personality issues later on.
Dr. Carson, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head because I see them changing constantly. But from what I understand, only half of Bible-believing, church-attending Christians are registered to vote, and only half of those end up voting. I'm sure you could correct me if that's wrong, but I think that's approximately correct. Why is that the case?
Unfortunately, there have been many who have advocated staying out of the mix, that it's all corrupt, and why get involved in something that is corrupt? And what I would say to them is one of the reasons it's corrupt is because good people don't get involved. And if all the good people say, it's too bad, I don't want to get involved, who's left? And whose policies will be the ones that govern our society? So there is a real responsibility to get involved. And also you have to think about your children and your grandchildren and all the people who are coming after us. And then think about the fact that you are able to live in peace and freedom. But that is not a given. That is because there were people who preceded you, who were willing to sacrifice everything, including their lives, to give you these opportunities. So why wouldn't we want to get involved to give those who are coming after us the opportunities?
And now looking at the second assassination attempt against Donald Trump, a friend of both of ours who, again, he was not shot at, but it definitely was an assassination attempt. The spiritual darkness that is plaguing our land. Dr. Carson, your reaction to Donald Trump, yet again, surviving an assassination attempt?
Well, I believe, and I've told him this for years, that God is using him. I told him that when I was first running against him as president, that he was going to win, because God had a special place for him in trying to save our nation. And I believe that to be the case. He has the right temperament, the right personality. You know, some people may not like it, but there comes a time when being the very nicest person that you can be just doesn't necessarily get the job done. And like I said before, we can work on his personality later on. God will work on his personality. But right now we need leadership. You think about all the things that are going on in the world right now that wouldn't necessarily be going on if we had strong leadership. America has been the one to carry the banner of power, strength, and integrity in the past. And when we lower that banner, all kinds of things begin to crop up. And there's domino effects. You look at the fact that we backed off of Iran and allowed them to fill their coffers from their oil revenues. What's the impact of that? They will be speeded along the way to obtaining a nuclear weapon. And when they get a nuclear weapon, they're going to use it on Israel. They're not going to be restrained by the concept of mutual destruction because they don't care if they're destroyed. Because according to their philosophy, if you're a warrior on the side of righteousness, you go to heaven and you get 72 virgins. So that's not a big deterrent for them whatsoever. But we need the kind of leadership that understands that. We need the kind of leadership that understands that if we use our liquid natural gas and supply Europe with what they need, it diminishes the power and the purse of Putin. And those are the kinds of things that prevent the aggression that we're seeing there.
And the moment that we're at, Dr. Carson, we need unity and we need peace and we need healing. Do you believe, how do we get to a place of reconciliation here? Because the temperature feels way too hot for normal Americans right now.
Well, you hear some people saying, let's stop some of the rhetoric about this person being the next Hitler and destroying America if they're elected, and maybe just focus on the policy and the policy differences, what those are. And that goes for both sides. Both sides need to focus on the policy. It's tempting to take jabs at your opponents and to try to denigrate them. But really, what good does that do in the long run? What we really need to do is talk about what makes the difference, kitchen table issues for the average American. And I think that's one of the reasons that Donald Trump has seen such an increase in his support among some of the groups that traditionally did not support Republicans. And I hope we will continue to really focus on those kitchen table issues that affect everybody every day.
Dr. Carson, please stay right there. A lot more to get to. And please, can you also just for 20 seconds talk about the American Cornerstone Institute?
American Cornerstone Institute is a think tank / do tank that focuses on the principles that made us into a great nation: faith, liberty, community, and life. And we also have the Little Patriot program. We call it the Inoculation to Indoctrination, all free of charge, by the way, in the Executive Branch for America, which we do in conjunction with your Turning Point USA program. And it's been wonderful to see the response for the young people in our universities across the country.
And we have you coming out in Phoenix with Turning Point Action in just a couple weeks. Looking forward to that, Dr. Carson.